I wanted to share this thought with you about the difference between attracting something and it just happening. I feel like that's an eternal debate or lesson that many people have to learn with spirituality, because very quickly, spirituality, positivity can become toxic because there's some people or some communities out there that think literally everything that happens, you've attracted in some way because of a thought, because of some negative aspect or thing that you're thinking about or obsessing about. And so that's why you don't have privilege, or that's why you don't have resources, or that's why you're in this situation that you're in. Obviously, there are situations where that does actually come true, where, okay, I'm thinking about something negative and I'm obsessing and my whole perspective and world is on that negativity. So obviously, if something happens, it's probably because of that. And there are instances where that is true, right? But then there's many instances where that's not true. And especially when it comes to people who don't have privilege. Like, as a white person with privilege, I understand that I have been given a clearer path and lesser obstacles than someone else who's in a marginalized community or grew up somewhere where they had more obstacles and less resources, and it is going to be harder for them. And I don't think that it is their fault for having that kind of starting point, right? And so I just kind of wanted to talk about this because I was reminded of the difference between attracting something and it just happening recently. And my therapist actually pointed this out, and I was like, this is so good. So I went to the post office recently, and it was when I had literally just like a 40-minute window. I haven't had as much free time lately because I have a new daughter, baby girl, and she was going through some transitions with her naps and all these things. And so literally just any free time I have is so precious. But I was like, okay, I'm tired of seeing returns that need to be taken into UPS and like all these other places. So I'm just going to go knock them out and I'm going to feel better about it. And so this one thing happened to be a return for the post office. And so when I went in there, I waited in line for like 40 minutes, and the person behind the counter just looked miserable, like miserable. He was going as slow as possible, like the typical stereotypical government worker that you would think of, right? I don't know what it is about those jobs, but like there's no rush, right? Fine, that's fine. But I'm just like, oh my gosh, I hope that everything goes well because I want to go home and just rest if I can, and at least, just get this done. And so eventually I got up there, and the item I had came with a code that you scan, like Amazon, where you just have a code, you can bring it in without packaging it up, give it to the person, they scan it and they take it. And so that's what the instructions from this brand at least said that it was, is you scan the code, just put it in its original like packaging, and then there you go. And so I did. And so when I gave it to him, he was like, what's this? And I was like, oh, I have this code here that said you scan it. He's like, no. What is this? And anyways, he just like continued to like get worse and worse and worse and starts insulting me. And it's like, I can't even like describe how insulting. He dove quickly. It was like, what's this, to like, vroom, like when I wake up in the morning and I blah, 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 like just like ranting, like he had an axe to grind. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I am a new mom. I'm exhausted and tired. I literally spent all of my free time doing this, and you're going to talk to me like this. And I just couldn't believe it was happening. And so anyways, I ended up leaving in a huff, right? Rightfully so. And I realized the first thing I started doing was, what did I do wrong? How did I attract that situation in my life? What thoughts were I having? What feelings were I having? And I literally was like berating myself all the way on the walk home. And so I just bawled my eyes out once I got home, and it just bothered me all day. And I was like, why is this bothering me so much? So I talked about it to my therapist, and she's like, I admire the fact that you look at situations and try to think, okay, how could I have been better? What could I do better next time? And she's like, but what if people are just jerks? What if they're a-holes and that's it? And there's nothing to analyze. There's nothing to dive into, and it's not your fault. Like, some people are just that way. And that is his energy and his thing to deal with. And we all like, and then this was a thought that I thought of after, but it's like, we all us, divine spirits and humans are experiencing this physical journey together. And there's going to be a variety and a range of where people are at energetically. Like there's no way, regardless of how perfect our energy is, that we can't run into people who are not higher energy. And I always think back to when you have higher energy, it converts lower energy, right? And so that was my choice to go into a lower energy. And so my therapist was like, when you look at every single thing as, what did I do wrong? What could I do better? She's like, that makes life so heavy. Like, how heavy must that feel? So I want you to think about times from now on. Can I just let this go? Like, can I just think, okay, that was a jerk. I'm going to feel angry and upset and frustrated. And then I'm going to go on with my day and move on. And so that just like not only lifted a whole bunch of pressure and stress from my shoulders, because I felt like, wow, that lifted so much weight. I don't have to be obsessed and like hyper vigilant all the time. I can just move on. And then it just reminded me, like, sometimes things just happen and that's okay. And there will be other times where it will matter that I sit back and think, how could I have done better? Or did I attract this? But as a whole, like there are a lot of instances where that's not the case. So I don't know if this is useful or helpful, but just know that sometimes things just happen and you are okay feeling what you need to feel and moving on. You don't have to take responsibility for every person's action or reaction. You can only take responsibility for yours, and it's okay to just do your thing. All right. Talk to you soon.